Yeah, the Christian music guys. Make some noise for the Christian music guys.
Our guest today is one of the most respected A&R minds in Christian music history. With more than 35 years in the industry, he's helped shape the sound of CCM through legendary stops at Word, Sparrow, Star Song, and is president of Benson Records. Before co-founding Centricity Music in 2005, he's the guy behind the scenes who discovered and signed artists like Point of Grace, Scott Krippayne, Cindy Morgan, Matt Redman, Nichole Nordeman, Warren Barfield, Jason Gray, and the Passion Worship recordings. And he also co-wrote a song called Love in Any Language with Sandy Patty, one of the most iconic Christian songs ever. A true shepherd of artists and songs. We're honored to welcome the VP of A&R and the co-owner of Centricity, Mr. John Mays. John, thank you so much for chatting with me.
Thank you, sir. You just read to everyone how old I am. I appreciate that.
Well, along the way, I've noticed on your socials and just digging for some research on you, you really love Jeeps. That's something that you really like. And I looked up some information, some fun facts on Jeeps, and you probably already know all of these, John.
I don't know.
Just let me know. Well, they say during the war back in the day, Jeeps were fitted with railway wheels to become Jeep trains, moving supplies on tracks. Did you know that?
Yeah, the Jeep was built to be used in the war, and it came in a box. It was delivered to the troops in a box, and they put it together out of a box.
And they said Jeep was the only vehicle in American history to be awarded a Purple Heart. Not for sure.
Didn't know that.
That's pretty interesting.
There you go.
And then in 1963, Jeep Wagoneer was the first luxury SUV. It's pretty interesting.
Oh, okay.
And the CJ, the civilian Jeep, was the first non-military model, and the Wrangler, replacing the CJ, became iconic, even featuring square headlights for a period.
That's right, in the 80s.
And then the last one, Jeeps have appeared in TV shows like Dukes of Hazzard, obviously, and one that I was kind of shocked about because I've watched a few episodes of this show, but I don't remember. But Mork and Mindy, I don't know. But anyway.
Good enough.
That was interesting.
It was one of those things that I'd always thought they were cool, and always admired, but I'd never had one. And any married guy can appreciate this, but one day my wife finally said, well, either stop talking about it or go get one. Yeah. And I'm like, I can go get one? So that was in 2018, and it was my first and only Jeep, but I have loved it. So, yeah.
Yeah. I guess it's fun. Well, and snow weather, it probably does really good on the ground. And do you ever take it mudding? Do you do that?
Well, in terms of like creek crossings and things like that, when you go out for a ride, and there's usually mud around that. But these guys do literal mudding just for tracks, just going through mud. I haven't done that yet. I'm still a little precious that I would mess up my Jeep,
Yeah. Well, John, let's get into our conversation. You and I met, I think, officially for the first time this past fall. But we've chatted online several times about just a little bit of everything. But so you started music at the age of 17, I guess, in the industry, singing, doing different things. But when did you first realize that it wasn't just a job for you, but it was your calling?
That's a great question, Jacob, because it was actually before 17. I grew up in a church where I was kind of the music kid. And so I've always done music. I don't think I've ever thought of it in terms of calling, just something that I love to do and wanted to do. So there's some place in your life, I think, that your gifting, maybe what you're discovering you can be good at, and the way that it can serve people. Those two things intersect and you realize, oh, maybe this is what I'm made to do, at least in this chapter of my life. And for me, that's just been a lot of chapters. uh, I guess that the big swing was moving from musician, producer, songwriter guy to working at a label. Those were actually two different jobs, but a lot of what I learned, as a player, I could apply in A&R. And so somewhere maybe around, my early 30s, when I after I started doing A&R, I realized this is probably what God has wanted me to do all along, and I'm really happy about it.
Now let's talk about the early days when you were like, and I guess you had a band, correct? And was
Oh,
you
yeah.
the lead singer? Was you the lead singer? Tell us about
No, no,
what
no,
was
no.
what was the name of this band, and did you all?
Let's
I
just
mean,
rewind and edit that out right now. I've never been a lead singer. Uh, I, I was a bass player. I grew up being able to play, different instruments and could hack around on those, and that served me well in terms of making demos for people and things like that. But what got me to town was bass playing,
mm,
and ended up being a session player for about 5 years, working my way up to that. So that's how I earned my living for a while.
wow. Now, was there a moment early on when you thought, "What am I doing? I don't belong in this industry. This is crazy." And what kept you going?
Yeah. Another good question, because I don't know if I ever thought, "What am I doing?" But I would think, it's not going to work. I'm never going to be able to make a living at
Mm,
this, and it's too bad. And those could turn into some long stories about the times when you go through these situations, or like, well, it works for other people, it's not going to work for me. And I'll have to say, Diane, who's been my bride for 48 years now, always believed. She was always someone. At one point, I grew up in West Texas, out in the oil fields, and my dad was a roughneck. And at one point, I thought, okay, let's just go back home and I'll work in the oil fields. And she's like, we're not doing that. So that's probably where I would have ended up had it not been for Diane and marrying such a good woman. But I guess what kept me going was the love of it, and how much I enjoyed making music, and then later how much I enjoyed helping to serve people making music.
Now let's fast forward a little bit we'll go back and forth a little bit, but Centricity Music, 2005. Tell us the story about that. I guess the short story, and then
You're right.
why was it needed in that time for
Hmm.
you?
Hmm. There's a great Andy Stanley quote. I heard him say years ago that every good vision begins with a broken heart. And I had no idea what that meant when he said it. But looking back over my label career, you said around 2005, around the time I was meeting the people that we would form Centricity with, I had worked at corporate labels, and by corporate I mean they're owned by larger corporations.
Mm-hmm.
Sony and Universal own Christian music labels now. Back then it was Warner and ABC, and obviously, there are good men and women working in the Christian divisions of these organizations, but ministry is never going to be their focal point. It's never going to be the tip of the spear. It can't be. They've got stockholders. They're responsible for making a better number this quarter than they did last quarter, and there's no shame in that if you're running an organization like that. But when it comes time to making decisions, especially about artists and their lives, their livelihoods, what's next for them, the financial concerns are heavy and often influence your decision about, do you keep going with this artist, or can you sign this artist or not? The money piece of it influences those decisions, or at least they did for me back in the day, in a way that I think over time kind of broke my heart. So when I met the people who helped form Centricity, it was these conversations starting about, this would be indie, it would be owned by this family. We might make decisions that at least we're able to consider ministry as much as business, business always has to be a concern, And I didn't even know what that would look like because I'd never really done things that way. But, in tangible ways, it might look like we've got this artist. From every good practical business consideration, we probably shouldn't do another record, but we sure believe in them and what they're doing. And who knows, if we do something else, maybe we give God another chance to do something, to bless what this artist is doing. That's one little example of what it might look like. And to say, I think your question was, why was it needed at the time? I don't know that it was needed, but certainly for me, it was needed to be able to continue and be able to develop and grow something that was based on a different set of values than everything I had done before. I want to be careful here, Jacob, not to criticize the people that work at these labels, because I'm friends with all of them and they with me. I've known them for years, and they're good people trying their best to do great work where they are. It's just harder. It's more difficult in those environments.
Well, John, my computer glitched there for a second.
Yeah.
So when we hung in Nashville back in October, let's talk about one of your artists. Was pretty successful for you guys, and a great story. We sat down for lunch, and I just asked you about Lauren Daigle and
Yeah.
the story about that. Do you mind sharing with our audience, that story?
Yeah, sure. And I'll try to keep it brief as possible. One of these values that I was talking about, being able to sort of prioritize as an indie label, was how we would sign new artists and how we would go about it. And that eventually turned into a retreat that we ended up hosting for artists that were on our radar at some level. We might have heard their music and be interested in it, but we don't really know them. They don't know us. So could we get together for a week with a handful of these people and spend some time with them? And I'll just fast forward to say, certainly some of our best signings have come out of this retreat over the years, and fantastic relationships. And, I don't think anybody at Centricity would trade anything for the ability to do these retreats. Well, I think it was our 2012 retreat. I had heard a band called The Assembly. This is CD days. I had their CD, was thinking about inviting them to the retreat. They were a decent band. Excuse me. And on the second track, the song, the second verse, there was this girl singing. And I asked them who this was. And it was Lauren, who went to their church sometimes and helped lead worship sometimes. She was still a student at that time. But I'm like, could you put me in touch with her? Maybe we should invite her to the retreat. We found out more and talked to her folks. She was still pretty young. So she comes to the retreat, honestly, just like, sure, I'll come. As much as I could try to describe what it was, I think she was just like, sounds fun to me. Let's go. So there's a part of the retreat early on where everybody gets up and does a song. It's usually early on in the retreat. And really, it's not some label audition or showcase or anything. It's just an opportunity for the artist to get up and demonstrate a little bit about what they do so the other artists can hear it. We have songwriters up there so the songwriters can hear it. And even some of our staff who are not that familiar can hear them. So the night before that little time was going to happen in the retreat, the lead singer for The Assembly, his appendix ruptured. And he was out for the rest of the week. So this next morning, when we're doing this little, I'm going to call it a showcase, the band is moping around because, like, well, fine, we're up here with this label and we've lost our lead singer. We can't really do a song. And I just said, could Lauren do it? Because really, Lauren had never written anything. She didn't have anything recorded other than that thing with them. Could Lauren just do a worship song with you guys or something? So they're like, I guess so. So that's what happened that morning. And it was really the first time any of us had ever heard Lauren. The only thing I had heard is that second verse of that song. I'd never heard her sing live. And that's when the jaws dropped around the staff, especially as we heard her sing. I don't even remember what the worship song was, but obviously it was clear there's a special voice here, and something my mom used to say that she would call it anointed. You just felt the spirit move when she sang. And so that began conversations. And yeah, I think that was 2012. And it was probably a year or so later that she moved to town, and we signed her and started doing development work on her, where she was just writing songs a lot, waiting tables at Chewy's and going to songwrites after that, smelling like tortilla chips. So she definitely paid her dues and worked so hard, still does. But that's kind of the story of how we came to get to work with Lauren.
Now, was that, did she already do American Idol before that, or?
Yeah, she had done Idol. I didn't know it at the time, but found out later she had done it two seasons, I think. She had done Idol, and I don't think she ever got top 10 or anything like that. But but now you would think that she owns the place as much as they have her on.
All right. It's crazy too, because I look at Idol and I'm like, man, there's so many Christian artists that have come from that wasn't even in the top 10. I mean, there's a few. I think Danny Goki was very close, but there's not been many Christian artists that have been like, final two, and their careers have just skyrocketed.
And was it last year or the year before their like big finale night was kind of a faith night?
Last year, yeah.
So many Christians now, and it's so neat just to see people be open about their faith on that show, and then for the show to embrace it like they have. It's been incredible.
Yeah. I mean, I think with that, Carrie Underwood probably has a big part in that, because of her faith, and maybe pushing that. So I think that's pretty awesome. But
indeed,
yeah. So okay, so I was Point of Grace, Scott Krippayne, Cindy Morgan. I mean, we can go on and on. My wife has sung many times with a hairbrush back in her teenage days, some Point of Grace songs.
Yeah.
So I just think it's amazing. But let's talk about the Love in Any Language, the Sandy Patty song that you had a part of. Did you have any idea to this day that song it still stands and still holds,
No. And I would think no songwriter ever has any idea, when they write a song, what's going to happen. But my friend, John Moore, who at that time was writing a lot of, in the 80s, there was that sort of music, that Sandy Patty sort of thing, Larnell Harris and Steve Green and some of these artists. He was writing so many songs for those artists. And he had this lyric and invited me to write music on it. So I did not write any of that lyric, which is the best part of it for sure. But yeah, I don't even know that it was originally that big of a song for Sandy. It was on that record, but it just has kind of taken a life of its own over the years. A couple of years I got a phone call on Thanksgiving morning because somebody was singing it in the Thanksgiving Day parade. So you never know where it's going to show up, but have been very grateful that John invited me into that, and then that the song has done what it's done over the years. It's nuts.
Yeah. Well, let's shift gears a little bit. Our viewers and listeners like this part. We do it with first-time guests, and we call it favorite things. So I'm just going to give you a word, and you tell me your favorite thing in that category. Sound good?
Let's do it.
All right. I already know this answer because when I was with you, you gave me two options for lunch, was Mexican or Mexican. So what is your favorite food, John?
You just answered it. Yeah. I grew up in West Texas. I have got salsa in my veins, and it was a little bitty town, and all the mom and pop restaurants were all Mexican restaurants. My mom made Mexican food all the time. I just grew up on it, and I've never gotten tired of it. I love it.
Yeah. And I think I said I love Chewy's, and you're like, well, that's okay, but there's a lot more better Tex-Mex places.
Chewy's is decent Tex-Mex for not
Yeah.
being, back in Texas. It started in Texas, but it's been sold and modified a lot over the years.
Yeah. I do love their jalapeno ranch though.
Come on.
That's good stuff.
Yeah, so good.
Do you have a favorite movie?
No, I don't think so. It's funny how, different categories of movies. I feel like I go through, whether it's super, guy movies, Saving Private Ryan, or art movies. I have different categories. I can't even think of something recent I love. I don't see a ton of movies, but I don't think I have a favorite one. But since that one came to mind, let's call it that.
There you go. Well, what about a favorite show that you like?
Well, now shows I get into, and probably my most recent two favorites have been Severance, and then just recently Pluribus,
Okay.
which is on Apple TV. The last season of that one was just 2 weeks ago, I think. The last episode, first season. They're both kind of sci-fi. They're
Sure.
both like, what in the world is going on? You can't figure it out, and I love that kind of stuff. When
Did you-
all these threads come together,
Right. Did you ever get into Stranger Things?
The first couple of seasons we watched it, yeah. I
Yeah.
think the third season, Katie Nicole and I were talking about it, and she's like, "Oh, this season is dark." She's like, "I don't know if I'm going to watch it anymore," and we just didn't. We stopped watching it. Are you big on that one?
Yeah, it was. I got into it. Yeah, I just I was afraid the ending was better than I thought it was going to be, but I really thought they were going to try to do a Lost. If you ever watched the show Lost, the ending was. We invested so much time in that show, and the ending was just terrible. So, it was. I mean, it was a dream the whole show, and so
yeah.
I was like, they better not do that for this. So.
Well, I heard good things about the last episode, last season.
This is a hard one, John, but if you had to pick one, Christian or non-Christian, do you have a favorite musical artist of all time?
It's not that hard for me because it would be the Beatles.
Okay.
Just how influential they were for me, still are for me.
Sure.
I'm a big Beatles fan. I love to talk Beatles, and that music has never gotten old for me. I'm a McCartney guy. I'm not a Lennon guy, even though I love some of Lennon's early stuff, and just can't get enough of that. Certainly the most influential. And somebody asked me what my guilty pleasure was, and I realized, it's the Beatles channel on Sirius XM. That's what I listen to if I don't have work stuff to listen to.
Have you ever seen Paul in person?
Oh yeah, 3 or 4 times. Yeah.
Nice.
And the last time, he's 83 now, I think.
Yeah. He don't look it really.
Oh no, and he's got incredible energy. The friend that I went with this last time, we were joking about how many artists would have to decide what number ones they're not going to do in a 3-hour set. There's not many artists like that. But obviously he's aging and his voice has changed a lot. And the last time I was like, I don't know if I want to remember it like this, but it's still a fun show. And just the songs are great,
Yeah, I like Phil Collins, and I saw a video of him a couple months ago. He doing one of his last shows, and I was like, "Whoa!" He is age. He was sitting the whole show, but I was like, man, he's such incredible talent that he has too. But
and you do respect that so much that they're still out there and doing that, but also you want their best chapters to be what you remember the most.
Sure, yeah. Do you have a favorite thing to do outside of music?
Jeeping.
Yeah.
Not so much in the winter, but in the spring, summer, and fall to take the top off, doors off, head out. There's been so many, and Tennessee's just full of back roads, but you don't know where you're going to end up. But Diane and I a lot of times will just, find a back road and whether she's with me or not, I love doing that. It's my meditation, I think.
Yeah. Now that you said the retreats in Washington State,
Yeah.
have you ever
Washington State.
taken the Jeep to the retreat?
No,
No.
no. I don't even know if the Jeep has been in another state. Uh, I've wanted to drive it to Texas because, like, hey, Jeep, you need to know Texas,
That's
But
right.
there's plenty of roads here in Tennessee to
Yeah,
discover.
sure. Do you have a favorite ice cream flavor?
And I'm pretty basic with ice cream, so probably chocolate.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
it's better than vanilla. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
last one. Do you have a favorite podcast that you listen to?
I really love and usually get like, to me, a good podcast is fun or funny, but also informative, and you learn something.
Sure.
And there's a couple of music podcasts. One is called "And the Writer Is," where they interview different successful songwriters, and one is called Pop. Uh, Shoot, sorry, I'm drawing a blank, but it's a podcast about pop music and just
Okay.
like whatever is current and hot, and they break it down. There are songs. There's a podcast called One Song that they will take like
Mm,
classic hits and break the stems down, and so you hear, oh, this is what the drummer played. This is what the guitar was doing. It's so fun to hear those kinds of songs that you've heard all your life
nice.
dissected like that. But mostly in the category of music, uh, music and how it's written and made.
Sure. Well, John, what is next for you in Centricity, and how can our
Yeah.
viewers and listeners keep up with you?
Yeah. Well, I'm a terrible poster. If you've looked at anything online, you've probably noticed that. I don't know when the last time I do have an Instagram account, but I can't think of the last time I posted. It may have been Halloween because my grandgirls were dressed up for Halloween. But that's Maze Cast. If you want to go there and see something from a year ago, uh, but probably this year for Centricity is the year of music from new artists that a lot of people have not heard of. We signed probably 4 things out of our last retreat. They're all new, and their music is just now coming out. And of course, that's always an exciting time, to have worked on things sometimes for a year, 2 years, and then here's the fruit of it. And let's see how the public reacts to this. You get to a place where you feel good about it and you like it, and you pray for God to bless it, but you don't know what's going to happen, and you don't know what will come from the seed that you put in the ground. This year is going to be a lot of that for us, of brand new artists releasing new music. Some of them for the first time, some of them going on their first tours. That's always exciting. There's so much energy around new things developing and coming out. And we're very grateful for the things we've had for a long time. I'll be working on a new Jordan Felice record, already starting on that I'm excited about. But I think this year, when we look back, it'll be, did we get traction on all these new things that we started releasing?
Yeah. Well, John, to wrap up, I'd like to see if you'd be willing to share something that God has been doing in your life recently that would help build our viewers and listeners' faith.
Yeah. Thanks for asking that, Jacob. I may have just touched on it because the music biz can be a brutal crucible of having to learn to bow your knee to God's sovereignty in what's going on, right? So you find an artist, you start working with them, you believe so much in them. I mean, you take a bullet for these people, and you want to be that way about it. You want to feel that strongly about them, their life and their work. And so you work hard. Sometimes you work for years before a first song ever comes out. You've done everything you know to do. You do it well, or at least as best you can. And that metaphor of a seed going in the ground is where your work has to stop. And it's so frustrating sometimes to realize you cannot make the fruit come up. Only God can do that. So it's true certainly in my work, but just in general, there are certain areas in your life that you are waiting for God to bring fruit up from a certain circumstance, environment, situation. You've done what you know to do. You keep doing it. And you don't have any really say in what he decides to bless and what he doesn't. So learning to live at peace with that and content with it. And it's okay to be frustrated sometimes with like, I don't know why that didn't work, right? For whatever reason, no fruit came from that. And I certainly thought it would. There's maturity that comes from that and lessons in learning to trust him. And that's certainly where I am these days, continuing to learn that.
Yeah. Well, John, thank you so much for coming on here and chatting with me. Man, a couple months from now, when you're healed up, get in your Jeep, take the top off, listen to some Beatles, and take that trip to Texas, man.
Let's do it. Maybe I'll come to Florida. Who knows?
There you go.
They're the Christian music guys. Yeah, the Christian music guys.